Welcome to this episode of A Level with Emily Reese, featuring a conversation with composer Chris Rickwood for the game Brawlhalla. Brawlhalla is a brawler game from Blue Mammoth Games and Ubisoft, and it features dozens of crossover characters. And so there are characters from franchises like Street Fighter, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Hellboy, The Walking Dead, Castlevania, Tomb Raider, all kinds of crossover characters. You get the idea. And Chris's job is to take the main theme from Brawlhalla and write it in the style of the music from those franchises. So I had a lot of fun talking with Chris about how that works. Like, how do you walk the line between a faithful imitation of someone else's music and an outright ripoff, and also the process of like getting those things cleared by the copyright holders, like getting them approved and like, okay, this is close enough but not too close, or this is way too close, take out this instrument or whatnot. Really fun talking with him about those aspects of his composition process. So in the podcast version, you'll hear the same theme many different times throughout the conversation, just varied in any number of ways to sound, you know, like Kung Fu Panda or like Assassin's Creed or something. So much fun. Now, we don't put music in these YouTube videos for copyright reasons, speaking of copyright, so you need to listen to the audio podcast version for that. Join us on Discord. That link is down in the show notes, and do subscribe to this YouTube channel so you don't miss any of our new videos, get notifications and whatnot. And if you're able to support us on Patreon, that would be great. One thing I want to remind everyone, there is a giveaway happening right now for a vinyl version of the soundtrack from the Red Lantern. You can learn about that on our Patreon site, as well as the patron-only event that we've got coming up on April 13th on the eve of VGMCon here in Minneapolis. It's a virtual event, so learn about that as well on patreon.com/level. Patrons of any level are welcome to all of those things, the giveaway and the event on April 13th. All right, well, here is Chris Rickwood talking about his music for Brawlhalla.
So it's a 2D scroller Brawlhalla, where it's basically a 2 to 4 player multiplayer brawling game where you're trying to knock your player off the platforms and off the screen and win the battle royale out of the 4 people. So it's does that answer that? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I honestly, it's one of those games that you have to invest some time in learning the combinations, much like a Street Fighter or a Tekken, like the fighting games.
Yeah.
You know, you watch, it's an esport. So you go to these tournaments and you just watch these people that have practiced these combos.
Yeah.
You know, and some of them are using controls, some are using keyboards, and just almost typing a paper. But like winning this game, it's something I'm just, that's not what I'm good at. I'm terrible at, like, you know, countering things and learning moves and like, what was the combo? What is the hit button? I don't remember. So,
Yeah, I have trouble with that too. And honestly, Smite, which you've also done the music for in the past, is sort of like that too. Being a MOBA, I feel like MOBAs are kind of like that, where you have to know your character inside and out and understand the weaknesses and the strengths and how to balance that out through the time of the match and all this. I mean, it's a very different mindset than like a, you know, big open world RPG where you're just kind of namby-pambying your way through the, you know what I mean? So
absolutely. It's like you have to get a degree in like finance to understand the math behind how to play like a MOBA. Again, it's like, because you're buying stuff, right? All during the game, it's like, I got to buy my abilities and what is this countering? These, you know, 10 players are on the board. What's going to help the most? It's insane. Yeah.
It's crazy. And those people love it, man. Those players, the gamers who game that way are absolutely into it. And I've gone down some MOBA rat holes in my time and things like that. But back to Brawlhalla, I've never been a brawler at all. And so I'm fascinated by that type too. And you know, kind of what you had the opportunity to do is take the Brawlhalla theme and just do it in all these different styles. So explain why that is, like what's the premise that even functions in, you know?
Yeah, so Brawlhalla it's a free to play game, and you know the trend now is, well, I guess this was going back to almost MMO days, but just constantly releasing content, like new content, like skins. It could be, it goes down to like what the podium looks like, down to like what emotes are coming out. And in my case, it's, they want to skin whatever theme, like visual theme that the game is following with new music, from the theme to all the way when you go into a match. So they'll have levels that are, tuned to that theme, and then they'll have like a start screen that has the theme of that, and they'll change the graphics on that. So taking just a cue from the art, they want to be able to just immerse the player in this the whole style, and with these crossovers, it's almost like they want to tug at the nostalgia a little bit. So it's like, oh yeah, this is, I could feel like this reminds me of when I was in 7th grade and playing this in the arcade, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I mean this with all due respect. I burst out laughing when the Assassin's Creed one started. I was like, "Oh my God, this is Assassin's Creed," and I had that reaction with all of the ones that I was that familiar with. You know what I mean? Like, because it did like hit all those key points, and I guess talk to me about finding the essence of those and determining what you're going to hang your hat on, because some of those games, I'm sure you had many choices on how to represent it musically, but then I think some of the others might some of them could have been more difficult. So talk to me about that.
Yeah. So Assassin's Creed's an interesting one because it's Brawlhalla is actually owned by Ubisoft. So since they're owned by Ubisoft, we were able to use the actual Assassin's Creed motives in there.
Yep.
So that one is literally like.
Yes, it is. With the voice and everything.
Yeah, the
like,
voice,
oh God,
and
yes.
That's Jillian Aversa, by the way, and the cellist.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Michelle Packman, actually playing a Baroque cello, which was pretty cool.
Cool.
Very hard to tune.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's adding a little bit of my own that flavor to it. So in that case, it's a matter of, okay, we want to, one of the first questions I ask is, what percentage, if you have the crossover IP over here and then the Brawlhalla IP, like what percentage should the music land in towards one or the other? Should it be like Assassin's Creed, but in a Brawlhalla world, or Brawlhalla in the Assassin's Creed world, or like straight down the middle or whatever?
Yeah.
Obviously Assassin's Creed is kind of close to the Brawlhalla world already, just a little more serious. And they did Valhalla, so there is an Assassin's Creed in Valhalla, so it made sense.
Yeah.
But it was so that was kind of straight down the middle, and we were able to use the theme, so it's pretty easy to navigate that. It's like, all right, well, this is, everybody will know what this is, because instantly, the first 4 notes, it's you go to other ones. I'm just trying to think what the other ones are. Maybe I should bring up the list.
Oh, I mean, I thought like Castlevania would be easy because of the organ. Yeah.
So Castlevania's a good example, because in that case, we don't have the rights to use any music.
Right.
And a lot of times, the IP holders will come back and say, yeah, it's way too close. You've got to take, this and this out.
Okay.
I kind of want to call that out because it's interesting, because some of the things they told, not Castlevania necessarily, but some of the IP holders will say, yeah, you can't have, this instrument. And it's like, this instrument is what makes this, makes the IP. It's like, I don't, like, what am I going to do here?
Yeah.
But yeah, wow. Castlevania was, I mean, I already, actually, this is a somewhat of a tangent. I did the game Orcs Must Die, and it's very much influenced by Castlevania. Like one of the notes was, it's basically metal meets Mozart. So it's, the organ, the harpsichord with these kind of, it's, metally drums and double kicks and guitars. And so Castlevania is kind of the same, right? Has those, lead, like just kind of lead guitars and the organ, just the Dorian mode. It's like very, castle-y, I guess. So yeah, that's, I don't know where I go. It's interesting trying to think about, I don't know how the other guys do this on this podcast. Like thinking about like what you did on your old music is, I don't know, that was 2 years ago that I did that. And I was kind of faking it there. Like, I don't know what she wants me to say. I think it was in Dorian. It had to be. It's medieval.
Do you remember struggling with any in particular? I mean, not that I want you to air out all your dirty laundry right now, but I think,
no, this is great. This is therapy. I think the ones I struggle with the most, and it's not necessarily trying to get the essence of the track. Here's the thing about, like, if you look at my career, it's riddled with non-original IP games. Like, I started on Evil Dead, Hail to the King, so not an original score. I did a big stint with Cartoon Network where I was just doing all the little Flash games. So probably did, 50 to 75 little Flash games based off of Cartoon Network IP. So I've studied other IP. I did Ghostbusters. So it's like, I've done a lot of non-original IP. So that part doesn't scare me. And, I went to music school, so I kind of know how to listen and get the essence of like what scale you're using and what the harmony is, instrumentation, all pretty standard music things. The hard ones for me were the ones that I really cared about, like Kung Fu Panda is one of my favorite scores. Like it just is. It's just amazing, like animated score, pretty intricate, very, like, I call them saturated, but just colorful and lively, and bends a little bit into the the Asian instruments, but it's also very Western. So knowing that, it's like, oh, I gotta nail this one because I love it so much. And it's that I think it's the hardest because I know when I'm doing it wrong, right? So I know, like, oh, this isn't quite the sound, and even at the mix stage, I'm like, this isn't getting that, like, kind of strings forward, like soloist forward, really textured, detailed recordings, because it's all sampled, at least in that case. But I wasn't getting the sound right, so that's the stuff I struggle with more than like the composition part comes pretty quick. It's more of like, okay, now I've got to mold the composition in my box. A lot of the time, I do record a lot of soloists, but for the most part, it's orchestra. Trying to mold that to sound close to the IPs. That I think is almost like half the battle, right? Getting the production to
for sure,
like the other productions.
I did love the Kung Fu Panda one. I thought, the Eastern instruments, sampled or not, just kind of do give a certain energy, right? And just the pentatonics and all of that just felt really good, and I thought that one sounded really nice.
Speaking of that, the other interesting thing on that one was the opening of it. Is the original melody? It's the da 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 da, but it's it's very like staccatoed out. And I don't know if you don't really know the melody to Brawlhalla, if you'd pick that up. So I was asking people, it's like, can you tell that this is just a variation of, the original theme? And so I'm glad you picked it up because it was.
I did. Yeah. I mean, it took me a while to absorb it just because I didn't have it in the clear. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't like, here's the Brawlhalla theme, and now here are all these iterations of it. I just started with the iterations. So, but then, but as you hear it, and it, of course, it's modified a little each time too. So it took me, but then I did learn it. And then I went back and listened again. And then, that's like half the fun,
It's just like the Elgar Enigma variations, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You've never actually heard the original theme. I didn't.
Right.
Like, full disclosure, I didn't write the original theme. It was a guy named Britt LaRue. He was
cool. Okay.
So I'm just taking his thing and like almost trying to forget it so that I'm not always just mimicking it back like note for note.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, it was really fun to just hear it in all these different ways. And, then not only are you doing all of the, like, these faithful, variations based on all these other IPs, but you're also doing all the seasons, right? And those were fun. Like the Valentine's Day tango was super fun. So talk to me like about that one in particular.
Yeah, that's for some reason, like I associate tango with the movie True Lies.
Well, I mean,
there's a tango in
really
there,
great tango scene.
Yeah, so that's kind of where that came from, and it was, sometimes the audio director there knows exactly what they want, and then sometimes they're like, just kind of do your thing. I think in that case, it was like, do what you want. I was like, it seems like, love is like a tango thing. And that's the first tango I've ever written. Like, so I got to like kind of dig into that and learn kind of what it means. Like tangos to me are like a buildup of tension that kind of never resolves. So it's always just kind of moving and moving, and then we're turning this way, and then it's going into this, and it's, I guess that's what, like if you watch the dance, I don't know, I didn't really research it, but that's kind of what it was. True Lies, and my own thoughts of what maybe a tango is this kind of what is it, like seduction, I guess. So it's just a lot of tension and moving back and forth. So that's where I started, and in the beginning it was a little too tango-y, and that was one where they said, make it. We want it to be a tango, but like, steer it towards Brawlhalla a little more. So then it's like, okay, we got to bring in a little, like horns are going to play the melody, which is weird in a tango, but let's go ahead and do that. And so just kind of making it masculine, I guess, like more like brawly.
More weight to it. Brawly.
But that's one of my favorites. That's unfortunately a solo sample, and I really kind of regret. I might actually go back and record a actual solos on that, because it would benefit so much from having a live player on there. But, a lot of time that's dictated by, this is due tomorrow. Okay.
Right.
I can't.
No, of course.
I can't record a violent, especially like a really proficient, like a what is it called? It was a hard violent part. It wasn't, Can't just get, my friend down the street. I'd have to get a pro on it.
Right. And Jotun Winter is like that too. It's got a really intricate and neat violin line in there with a singer. Is that Jillian?
That is not Jillian. That's actually I have an audio team called Team Audio. We do sound for games, the whole thing.
Oh, cool.
So,
okay.
And one of the sound designers is Isabella Ness, and she's also a classically trained singer.
Oh, nice.
Like altoist voice. So
handy.
In that case, it was, I wanted this epic Skyrim-ish kind of mountain scene where it's like, okay, you're on top of a mountain, it's snowing, and you're singing, and you're trying to reach the gods with this, with your voice. That was the kind of voice I wanted, along with the solo violin, which is actually Jeff Ball.
Cool. Okay.
So, an interesting thing that I learned, Jeff, by the way, just has a unbelievable ear, like, and was correcting notes the whole time. You meant a B flat here, right? It's like, yeah, I did. Like, I was just like doing this on the keyboard. I wasn't, actually like thinking about what the scale was. But the other interesting thing, and I think I find this with most professional players, is they play things exactly how you write them. So it's like, my part was very, push-pulley, like expressivo, and like he turns it, and it's just like dead on exactly what I wrote. I was like, oh my God. I've got to like tell him, like, I slow down these two notes, and then you just have to detail out the part, or you just say don't more expressive. But it's just so I just find that every time I use these studio players, they're so on the ball with this is exactly what you gave me, this is what I'm giving you back. You want to definitely tell me.
They're very good at following instructions. You know what I mean? Like that's
absolutely.
Like, What? Yeah. Yeah.
That's why you're hired, is because
exactly.
They can do that. Yeah.
And then you're like, we'll fix it. And they're like, okay. And then they just fix it. And it's amazing. Yeah.
Can you play it worse? Like,
yeah.
Play it like off the beat a little bit. Yeah.
Play it like you're 18 instead of 28 or whatever. Yeah. Like you're still learning, but you're awesome. But you're, That's so funny. Who are some of the other performers you worked with, or that you've had a chance to work with on Brawlhalla?
On Brawlhalla specifically, lately I've been using, like everybody else, Kristen Negus.
I thought I heard some English horn or something in there at some point.
Like the last one I did was the Valhalla Quest, which was for Battle Pass 7, and it was based on.
It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it was tabletop gaming.
Okay.
And the references were, I bet you can guess, like Lord of the Rings. So in the case of, that theme, I wanted it to be kind of a full story of, your little Hobbiton. It wasn't Lord of the Rings. Maybe I shouldn't say that. You're in another beautiful
you're in
village.
A grass hut.
You're in a country village in New Zealand, let's just say randomly. And but you're going on this trek, you're going on this adventure. So I kind of take you through that, like going, starting kind of small with the clarinet, and it goes into the low whistle and then strings. And then it goes into now we're on a journey. It goes into a little more epic, and the full orchestra comes in, like a choir by the end of it. And then it goes back a little bit. And Kristen did all the woodwinds.
Okay. So she's clarinet and everything.
She's the clarinet, the low whistle, the English horn, and a flute right at the end there. Yeah.
Amazing. She really is.
Hopefully all in like 30 minutes too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jesus.
Amazing.
It's nuts that most woodwind players are like that, right? Or not most, but a lot of them have to play
double.
Piccolo, flute, but it's rare you find like piccolo, flute, and then reeds. Like I guess like maybe starting double reeds is, since it's probably the hardest one to play.
Definitely.
You learn something there, and then it's like, oh, all these others are like super easy now.
Walk in the park. Yeah.
Like I don't have to worry. I don't have to make my own reeds to play this. What do you?
Exactly. You don't have to build things. Yeah, it's like Minecraft for woodwinds.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, she's incredible. And I always wonder. I'm like, and then it always is her. I'm always like, oh, that's Kristen. And then yes, that's Kristen Negus. It's really amazing.
Yeah, I used her on another one, and I'm gonna eventually write something hard for her. Oh, it was the Avatar one. The Avatar,
oh, cool. Okay, the Airbender. Yeah.
Yeah, she played the whatever woodwinds. Like I said, I don't know how people remember. Like
I would have if I had made a note. I didn't make a note about that one, but which means very little. It's just yeah.
I feel for you that you had to listen to the same theme like 50 times.
It's fun though. It's like it's fun though, because then it is like listening to a theme in variations, right? Like my absolute favorite piece in the world is the Goldberg variations. So you hear that variated varied. Variated. You hear that variated like 30 times. So I think it's fun. I love that. There are a couple different synthwave ones which are really fun. Like there's the one that's actually synthwave, and then there's like Miami Dome, which is synthwavey, and I mean that's like my childhood, and I love it. So
excellent.
So talk to me about those.
I will. I'm glad you asked. So my Miami Dome was the first track I did. I wouldn't actually call that synthwave. It's I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
it's EDM
it's
almost.
80s.
Yeah, and it's because there's a little bit of again, this was the first one, so it was years ago I did it. But the point is, it was before we actually did the theme. So that's actually a level theme. It's not a main
cool. Okay.
And they didn't know better. They were like, yeah, we have a new level, and we want it. It started off. If you play the game, there's like Japanese neon, like it's the top of this kind of Tokyo.
Okay, cool.
City. So the original kind of motive was like pentatonic and played almost like with a shamisen kind of.
Nice.
Plucky instrument.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah, we don't. it's not actually, it's in Miami. It's like, well, why do you have like you have a ramen shop and it's in Japanese and it looks like it's in Tokyo. It's like, no, it's in Miami. It's just this. So can you take out the Asian influencers? Oh, okay.
Okay.
We should talk more.
You take it out and then I'll take it out.
Exactly. We should talk about this before I start writing. Maybe.
Exactly.
So but the synthwave one, the actual synthwave one, which was for the Battle Pass, that is my favorite track I think I've ever written ever. And
cool! I loved it. Yeah, it's great.
I too I was born in the 70s, but my formative years were in the 80s.
Totally.
So I grew up in the 80s.
Yep.
And as you know, synthwave maybe isn't really like 80s music.
Right. It's like pretend. Yeah.
But it's a little therapy for me. Like my favorite part of the synthwave track is like the minute 2 to like minute 4. You'll notice it's the longest one too. It's 5 minutes long because I was having so much fun with it.
Yeah. Good.
But like it's actually the part in the middle that's my favorite, and it has nothing to do with the theme, right? So I play the theme like twice, and then I go into this like 2-minute interlude of just like pads and the bells, like it's like a rolling synth and like rolling pads and Juno-y sound and the Linn drums and all that kind of stuff. And it was like if I were to distill my job down to what the point of it is, it's to evoke some kind of feeling of remembering something that happened to you before. Like it's a
nostalgia or something.
Like it's nostalgia, but it's not necessarily just nostalgia. It's more like a like it's getting emotions out of you, but like emotions are remembered, right? Like you don't all of a sudden like feel anger and like, what is this feeling? It's like you remember like, this reminds me when that guy ran into me and didn't have insurance. And so in this case, that I can listen to the middle of that and it takes me back to middle school, like 7th grade, when you're like I had a butt cut and like acne and like super awkward. And but I had this like longing, this unrequited like crush on girls. That track for some reason like takes me there, and that's why I sat on that part for so long. It's like I can live in this and I can listen to it like today, and it'll like snap me back to that moment, that time in my life. So that's why that's my favorite, because that's maybe the one track ever in my 25-year career that I can, say, that does that. Like it evokes an emotion, and I understand that emotion, and it was intentional. That's what I was trying to get out of it for Brawlhalla.
For Brawlhalla. No, that's great. It
makes me long for my middle school. Like I was not getting girls' attention years.
There's something special about it.
Everybody has that. Everybody went through that.
Yep. I also liked the Halloween theme because, I think certain holidays you have to have like winter, like the holidays, like Christmas time. You got to have like sleigh bells or something like, there are just a handful of things that will make it Christmas. But with Halloween, there are any number of ways to make something scary and Halloween-y. Just so many ways to do that. And I just liked the direction you went with it. So talk to me about doing the Halloween track.
Yeah, I agree. And what's interesting is I did the Halloween theme almost exactly after I did the Order of the Exalted Lion theme, which is very Halloween-y. It was like Halloween after Halloween, like horror after horror after horror, right? So it was definitely an exercise in Walking Dead, which is the Bear McCreary thing. And then Order of Exalted Lions, which was kind of gothic-y and big and almost like Castlevania, but not as strident. And then the Halloween theme. They did ask for kind of the elfinish sound, and I was happy to do that because I was like, I'm out of ideas. I've already done Halloween twice. What do you want from me? So it's Yeah, so taking the Elfman,
Yep.
the old like Beetlejuicy type things
with the low piano and
the piano doing the
yep.
thing, and it's not quite ripping them off, but it's it's an homage.
It's an homage. It's a faithful yes. rendition. And you did kind of allude to the fact, in getting these things cleared by the original IP owner, whoever owns the rights to the music. So can you talk about that, or is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's almost always not clear to use the
the
original music.
Right.
Actually, I think the only time it was cleared was for Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
And there was actually another IP that's actually not on this list because I didn't do a theme for it. It was just level music that we used the original music, and I think we were cleared to do it back then, but then I think the contract changes because a lot of times it's like you can use things for a year, and then after that you have to take it down.
Okay, yeah.
And you have to like erase it from the internet, and it's part of the contract.
Wow.
So in that case, I had to rewrite a track and do that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's I have to write a sketch, and they send it to the IP holders, and it's not just to clear, to make sure I'm not getting too close, but it's also to make sure I'm getting close enough. It's like, okay,
sure,
this is good enough for both the IP, like production wise and writing wise, it makes sense, and it would fit in our universe. And so yeah, that's a whole other deadline you have to think about, and like,
yep,
a level of bureaucracy that you have to kind of endure and navigate, like how close can I get and what's too far. And I honestly want it to be the original IP in Brawlhalla. That's kind of always where I'm going. So I wanted to have those, just the DNA of Brawlhalla, even though we're doing a crossover. The theme obviously does that, but there's instrumental choices usually that does that, that makes it a little more Brawlhalla.
Yeah. Chris, talk to me about, because a lot of times, if I'm speaking to someone who's in the U.S., they're almost always on the West Coast, and even then, usually in L.A.
Yeah.
Not always, but if I were to make a pie chart, most of them would be in California somewhere.
Absolutely.
And then probably next would be the Northwest, and then I would maybe go out east. But you're in Atlanta, and I do know, like, Jason Graves has a robust career in North Carolina, but it's definitely the exception to the rule. So talk to me about, I assume staying in Atlanta, or how you ended up there, and what made you decide, or at least how did it happen that you're an Atlanta-based, quite successful composer person.
Yeah. Glad to talk about it. Actually, I'm going to say something kind of embarrassing that I just thought about now, but it's
good.
I feel like I learned things way later that seem obvious to everybody else. But here's one thing. John Williams was the conductor for the Boston Pops.
Yes.
Right? So when I was a kid, I thought he lived in Boston.
Oh, well, I would have assumed that too.
Yeah. So like, well, as a teen, I was like, oh, if John Williams can be a film composer and live in Boston, like, I don't think anybody really has to move to LA.
Oh,
maybe
wow.
I think that was my thinking.
Funny. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So it's like, if he can do it,
but he didn't, right? He didn't, did he?
No, he was.
Yeah.
He just flew to Boston.
Right.
Conducted and flew back.
Of course. Yeah.
Really, he didn't. He probably has a house there too, but.
Well, yeah. Who knows? Or yeah.
But my
that's so
my
funny.
thought was like, oh, he's based in Boston.
Yep.
Like,
yeah.
So, not that like informed where I could live, but I did think that meant like informed me that I didn't have to move to LA.
Mm-hmm.
And I started, like most composers, wanting to be a film composer, but I knew I didn't want to do the Hollywood thing. I don't know. I was averse to that lifestyle that I didn't even really know, but I just, in my head, the, shaking hands and greasing palms, like the whole, like kissing up to the people that are going to hire you. wasn't my style, and probably most composer style. But so early on, I thought, like, I don't think I can move to LA. And once I obviously decided to become a game composer, which was in the mid '90s, that was off the table for me. I was like, I don't think I have to be in LA to be a video game composer. It's almost better not to be, like, to be different from all the other composers. I ended up in Georgia because of my wife. So I grew up in Texas, and then I moved to South Carolina for a few years and ended up going to Furman University for my undergrad in theory. Went back to Texas, to North Texas for grad school, to get my master's, really to delay getting a job is why. It's like, oh, I have a theory degree. This is not going to make me any money. Let's go to grad school and spend more money on a degree that's not going to make me money. So at the time my wife got a job here in Georgia, she actually went to UGA. Was a social worker. And was a year ahead of me. So she had a job at a college here in Georgia. So I was like, I'm going to live with you as I try to do this thing. And it ended up being kind of a great decision because Georgia did not have a video game industry, really. And some people would see that as a disadvantage, but there's that whole, like, that story with, like, the shoe salesmen that go, they go to Africa or whatever, and, like, one of them goes and it was like, huge mistake, nobody here wears shoes, and, like, comes back, I can't sell shoes here, nobody wears them. And then another one goes there, it's like, huge opportunity, nobody has shoes here, like, we could outfit this whole country with. So it's kind of like that was kind of my thought, was like, the industry doesn't exist here, but it's a major metropolitan area. And I knew about Research Triangle, like, which is still far away, but, like, East Coast, right? Where Jason lives. And then, there's art schools here. SCAD is here. Georgia Tech here. So it's a big, tech community, major airport. And a huge music scene. It's like UGA Athens, Georgia had REM, B-52s, like a lot big indie scene, Widespread Panic. And then Georgia has it's hip hop capital of the world. We have the trap museums here now. Usher, it's a big music scene. And a lot of acts would come through here, not anymore because all the studios shut down, but they would come here to record, like Pearl Jam and so that it was, music was here, technology was here. So I was like, I'm going to do something here, and kind of helped almost build the industry. Like, I helped found the Georgia Game Developers Association, which is kind of the trade organization here that we once a year put on a show called Siege, which is a little Southeastern gaming expo, like much like GDC.
Like,
but localized. So we bring in, I bring in my friends to talk, and professionals would come from all over just to come in and talk to the Georgia scene. So it, starting back in, 99, nobody was here. It was, we'd go to IGDA meetings and there was like 7 people, like, eating at a Fellini's pizza. But, starting this organization, doing Siege yearly, like, the industry grew, and High Res Studios started up here, Tripwire Interactive started here, Blue Mammoth, which is Brawlhalla's dev, was here. Obviously Turner was here, so we had Cartoon Network doing Adult Swim and Boomerang, like all the Turnery type things. So it wasn't like that left field that I stayed here, but it wasn't, there weren't any like AAA devs, and I kind of knew, like, the reason Austin has a scene, and maybe even Seattle, is like, okay, they had one company in Austin, like Origin was there, and then, like, that blows up, and, like, okay, now there's like 200 people that are super creative and want to create their own game company. It's like, and you just see that happen. So that's kind of what I was counting on here, was like these companies would grow into these behemoths, and then, like, people would. CCP was here for a while with White Wolf Publishing, And so I got to know, like, I kind of wanted to become just the Georgia poster boy for game audio. And just went to all the meetings and met all the players. And there's a great economic developer, guy Asante, that he's trying to bring in the business to Georgia. So I got to know him, and like he would, like, whenever somebody came over, it's like, you need to talk to Chris. So it's almost like I don't want to say I built this town. But there's something about, like, doors get opened for me that I don't think would get opened anywhere else, right? Because of the uniqueness of me being a video game composer. Everybody else is trying to do TV here, or like horror films, or now even film. I was the only one for years doing games, and got asked to talk to people. I'd be on panels with like Dallas Austin, and so I was doing things above my pay grade as far as like who I actually was, but it was because I was one of one game composers at the time. So that turned out to work in my favor. So pick a town and build your own industry, and you're good to go.
Build it single-handedly. It'll only take 20 years.
Well, it took 25 years. So now these studios like Hi-Res, I don't know, they're international and have I want to say 300 people here in town. But they have just recently started splintering off these other little studios, and they were already huge, but now I'm hoping to get the payday for that. It's like I waited 10 years for you guys to quit and go do your own thing. So remember me. Your audio.
You also do a lot of work with the Game Audio Network Guild, is that right? Gang?
I did way
okay.
back. So in the beginning, and the advice there, it's much like what I did with Georgia is I volunteered there. So for when it first started, I asked what I could do for it, and I became the, what do they call it? I guess it'd be a community manager nowadays. But I would monitor the forums, and whenever there's a question, I would call up a professional and say, "Hey, can you jump in here and answer this question real quick?" So I got to know a lot of people just through that. That gives you a reason to talk to people you wouldn't get to talk to normally. It's like I have no agenda here except like, "Hey, help this person out." And by the way, I'm Chris. So it was a good way to just kind of network without being too like, I'm a composer.
Right.
One of the other 2,000 composers here at the GDC. Please take me seriously.
Are you going to GDC this year?
I'm not. And this is maybe the first year that I'm like, since COVID, that I wish I had like it just fell off the radar, obviously, for the last 2 years, and a lot of people are asking me that this year. I'm like, "Are you coming?" It's like, "Are you going?" It's like, I didn't think we were doing that yet. Because it's safe. It seems like everybody's going. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So next year, and I'm actually thinking about Game Sound Con this year.
I love Game Sound Con.
Just to get out of the house. It's been too long.
Yeah. I guess by the time this actually publishes, GDC will have passed, but
maybe I should. I went there
and saw no one.
I was at the Marriott bar the whole time.
Oh God!
Remember that conversation? What was I going to say?
Yeah.
So 2020, ironically, like was the year of me getting back out there. Like I had been to all the things, but I kind of was resting on my laurels because I had so much work. I was doing, 4 high-res games, and I was doing Brawlhalla. So it was like, I can't handle anymore.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like cruising on doing the networking. I would go to GDC, but it was like, I'm here to drink with my friends.
Yeah, exactly.
I will be at, I can't remember the name. It used to be called Annabelle's, but it has a new name. Anyway, there's a restaurant right across from the Marriott that we just hang out and like people cycle in, and it's a good time. Anyway, so 2020 was the year of me like, okay, I'm going to go do some things. So I was signed up to go to South by. I was going to like host a panel there. I went to the Grammys that year, like in 2020. And then I was, going to the GDC. And then like the day I bought my tickets to South by Southwest was the day everybody shut down and they canceled South by Southwest. It's like, I guess I'm going to become the recluse that I was originally.
Exactly.
Again.
You're just going to do what you normally do.
Exactly. Yeah. This is the universe telling me to not get out of my shell.
Right. I was talking about that with a friend the other day. Like, what did people on house arrest, like people who were like on house arrest for whatever reason, whatever crime they committed that gave them house arrest, like what was that like during the lockdown? It's like, well, everybody else is on house arrest. Yeah. Like, what the hell difference does it make? What kind of punishment is this?
Do I have to go outside now? Like,
exactly. You can't be home.
You can't go anywhere, but you're now you can't go home. You can be anywhere else.
It's a reverse ankle bracelet. It like repels you from being home. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. What crazy times. Crazy times.
Yeah.
So I see, I don't know, 7, 6, 8 guitars behind you or something. Maybe maybe a couple basses actually.
Those are all props.
Yeah. Those are all you don't play a thing. So what's your main? And you also said theory major, which made me think you must be a pianist. But that's not necessarily true. So so what's your musical history?
You play trumpet.
Oh, you do? Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't. Maybe I used to play trumpet.
Used to play trumpet, exactly. Like, it's just, it would take me months to get back to where I used to be. Oh my God, if I could even. I don't even know.
Yeah, I played it all the way through like my senior year in college. And it was then where, at Furman, it's a small private school. So I was playing in all the ensembles and I wanted to be a composer. So I was like, I'm going to focus on writing and less like trumpet ensemble. So I quit most of the ensembles, like the jazz band and all that kind of stuff, just to focus on writing. And then when I went to North Texas, it was, I don't know if you know North Texas, but it's
huge jazz school.
One of the biggest jazz schools.
Yeah.
So going there, I was like, I'm way out of my league in any like type of like trumpet playing. It's ridiculous, like the musicians they have there.
Oh man. Well, and how many ensembles, how many jazz bands do they have there?
So they have, I don't know how many, but it goes by time, right? So it's like
the 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock is the best, and then as it gets farther away, those are the worst ones. Like funny story, like I'm walking around. Well, I was walking on campus with a friend of mine, and like I walked by one of the jazz halls, and I hear the band. This was like at like 6.
Okay.
I walk by. It's like, oh, cool. Who's in concert in here? And it's like we should stop in and listen. He's like, no, that's like those are the Scrubs, man. That's like the 6 o'clock band. It's like, what? These guys sound amazing. I thought it was a professional band. Like it's so good. Like
these are the Scrubs.
So these guys are like at 6. Like they have day jobs.
Awful. Yeah. These are the engineering majors. Do you remember that? I just remember when I was an undergrad and I went to school in Boulder, and the requirement there, I was a music ed major, was 2 years of marching band. Some music ed majors, depending on where they went to school, had to do 4 years of marching band, which I never would have. Oh my God, no. But I remember always in marching band, there were always like the 5th and 6th year seniors who were still in marching band, but were like civil engineers or something. They were like studying math or whatever. And I just got the biggest kick out of those lifers. I'm like, wow, you're not even a music major and you're just like dedicated to being a marching band. I was like, wow.
Yeah. A good friend of mine was one of those. He was a 5th year senior and
amazing.
A trumpet player and biology major, but was incredible. He's an incredible trumpet player. And actually he went on to he did cruise ships for a while. And I still think he's like in Cincinnati or something playing, but but also like working at a hospital, something like that. It's an incredible player. But.
Yeah. I had a roommate, Peter, who was like a microbiology major, but was the most talented musician at that entire college music. I mean, he's a tenor player and just killer jazz saxophonist. And that's like his life now, but he just wanted to have some kind of medical degree or something. I'm like, you're crazy. But yeah, he's just that kind of guy, just that smart, brainy type that can manage all those things.
that's, I don't want to say like all musicians are smart, but like there's something about like musicians and wanted to be like well-rounded. Like they just, you find, and it maybe goes both ways. Like you find a lot of like programmers like are really good musicians or really big fans of musicians. And like musicians, or at least maybe I would just speak for myself, but I'm very chaotic about what I want to focus on at one time. And it's something like, it's just like not just music, but it's like, oh, I want to like do woodworking. I want to do 3D printing. I want to code stuff. I want to, I want to build stuff, I guess, like create stuff.
Yeah.
And music just happens to be the one that I love the most. Like I can't quit music, but like there's something about, I think all musicians are always like, oh, I'm also super into painting. And like, I'm also like an incredible writer. And like, just on the side, I like to cure cancer. It's just a weird, like, something about the musician's mind that's maybe it's they're unsatisfied with it.
or just curious, maybe just
curious. Yeah, let's say that.
Or
curiosity is better,
or an interest in amazing. Well, let's briefly mention Schmidt, which you used to compose for and composed a ton of music for back in the day. And we did mention it briefly at the beginning, but just talk to me a little bit before we say goodbye, I guess, about, what it was like writing for that type of world.
Yeah, that Schmidt was incredible. Like it was, the thing about Schmidt, it was the first game I worked on where the schedules were insane. Like every 2 weeks. And I was doing audio direction and like sound and music on it.
Oh, you did the sound too?
Well, I mean, I did a little bit of stuff, but I had a team also doing sound.
Okay, but you're the one telling everybody what to do.
I was running the whole shebang. Like it was not like coordinating voiceover, but I had partners helping me. Not solely doing everything, but it was a lot. And it was every 2 weeks they're putting out new things. And it took a little while. Like we would start, it was really great training for Brawlhalla because it was, we have, the original Schmidt theme, which, it's kind of it's a choir. It's pretty, it's pretty basic and what it is, but I was really just trying to kick things out. But as each Pantheon was created, I would then get to write a new theme pack for each Pantheon. So it's like, this is the Greek god was the original really. And then it's like, now we're going to do, it's, Aztecs, and now it's, Egyptian, now it's, this and this. So that was, the first time I ever had to like take a theme I've already done. And it's like, now I have to reimagine it in, this world and this world.
Yeah.
And then they shifted over to doing the same thing that Brawlhalla is doing. Actually, they did it first, to where it's like, now we're going to do music packs that can take over. And they would have to do with sometime, I think the first one I did was really for a character. It was the first time they had what was called a tier 5 character that went through like 5 different levels of the character to where it changed the whole art and animation. So it got bigger and bigger as like this archangel type of character.
Cool.
So the music I did was purely for that character. It wasn't even for like, we're changing the complete skin for this. It was, trying to think, it was like drum and bass plus guitar and like synth, if I remember. I don't even remember the names. I'm terrible at remembering things. I'm hitting 50 here.
This year?
So this year I'm turning 50, yes.
No way. Okay, well, happy 50. My sister as well, so yeah.
So Schmidt was, my introduction to that, and it was super fast. After that, it was like, we're doing this, and this. I can't remember how many I did. I do remember I have a similar story with the Halloween tricks that I did with Synthwave, because I was doing Brawlhalla and Schmidt, and for some reason they would sometimes coincide, and Paladins actually started doing it too. So it's like, we're doing Synthwave So I did actually two synthwave packs. It was dark wave and like vaporwave, if you want to get technical about it.
Okay, for Smite.
For Smite, and then I did Brawlhalla did a tiny little synthwavy like chest. So there was a little music that went that, and then they went full synthwave. So by the time I got to the actual Brawlhalla Battle Pass, which I wrote the 5-minute thing, I had done a lot of synthwave for other games. And again, it was like, and by the way, the stuff I sent you are just the themes. There's a whole music pack that goes with the theme.
Yeah.
So there's a level theme and all. I didn't send you those, but so it was actually, like 10 minutes of synthwave music after me already writing what I thought was the best synthwave music I could write out of the bat. And it kept happening. It was like, oh, we're all doing 8-bit now. It's like, okay, I gotta do the 8-bit thing now and do that. And it's like, all right, we're doing the epic orchestral. Then so we'll do that. But that's the hazard of the job is being able to come up with new ideas in the same.
Do you have a favorite style?
I don't, and that goes back to my attention, like my curiosity of things. Like I think it hurts my career because people will ask me, like, if I send you my demo, it's like, well, what is your sound? I always got, you always get asked, like, what's your thing? Like, you write this, you're like Thomas Newman, you're like, what? And I'm like, I do what's appropriate for the task at hand. Like, I don't know, like, what my thing is. Like, I'll look back over, when I retire and I'll look at my catalog and then maybe be able to distill that, like, these were my, early years of not knowing what I was doing. And this is when I learned how to use modes. And then this is when I like stopped writing the melody only in the French horns. And then, so it's I still haven't gotten past that. I'll always write the melody in the French horns.
It's they're worthy of it.
They can play it well.
They can play it. Yeah.
So I don't know what my favorite is. I love it all. And, I listen to everything with the mindset of like, what can I learn from this?
Yeah.
And now use and then forget.
Yeah.
A vicious cycle of little techniques that I use. And then like I forget what I did on them. And then,
amazing.
So, that's my career is it's all over the place.
It's the chameleon part of being a composer.
And I honestly like I wish people could see the value in that. And obviously like Brawlhalla does Smite, like these I think companies do, but for the most part it's not one composer doing that. Like they'll hire like the experts and like, we're doing synthwave, let's get like the Dixon brothers, I can't remember who did Stranger Things, right? So they'll get those people to do the electronic stuff. And I like pride myself in being able to adapt all these different genres. And I actually did a bunch of emotes for Spellbreak, and they were all I had like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks to do probably 20 of them, and they were all these different styles. Like one was hip hop, and one was like rock, and one was like a minuet, I think, and like it was just all over the place. Like chicken dance thing. So I was doing all these like in in like 2 weeks, and pushed them out, and I was just like, this seems amazing. Like I feel like I'm one of like not many people that can do this, like like can do it that quickly, and they're pretty good. I don't know. I feel like all my work is kind of bad, but I feel like it, it did the job, right? And it's a skill.
Yeah. Well, Chris, it's been such a great chat with you about Brawlhalla and all the things. Is there anything else that you want to add before, or that I forgot to ask? Or
not really. I could talk on and on about just non sequiturs, but I do want to mention, my team audio, because I feel like it, composers, and I think all composers will say this, there's always a team behind you, and team audio, we do provide like audio for all games. And actually, like I was listening to Jonah a couple of weeks, and he was trying to mention a project, like it's team audio that's doing that project. He's doing it through us.
Oh,
and I was
cool.
like, I don't know if he can say the name, man. So I was sitting here waiting for him to say what the project was. No, he didn't.
Yeah, no, I didn't think so. Jonah Senzel, right? You're talking about
yes,
Jonah Senzel.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
He's like, I'm working this AAA game. I was like, don't say it. I'm not sure we're allowed to yet. It has been announced, but I'm not sure to what extent. It's just an iffy thing. But I do want to mention, I have this team, and it's been life-saving. Like, just to be able to, like I was saying before, when I was working at, the 6 games at one time and managing all this stuff, it's too much.
Yep.
It's too much to do. And just being able to, like, hey, I'm not good at this. You do all this, and you do that, and I will focus on, watching Netflix and writing music.
Yeah.
I'm really good at those two things, like wasting time and writing music. But I want to focus on, you do everything else. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But it's been a pleasure. Like I said to you in the email, like I enjoy it's not just the conversational style, but you're a fan of the music, and obviously a musician yourself. So there's something a little different about that, that you can, one of the hardest, I'm going to go on and on the ending. One of the hardest questions to answer, like when you're not in the video game, when you're just out in life, especially in Georgia, where it's not an entertainment city necessarily.
Yeah.
And people, I say, I'm a video game composer. The one question they ask is, what have you worked on? And it's like, I just don't like talking about my career with people who don't understand the career, right? And
right. Yeah. No.
And that's why GDC is wonderful, because you go there, it's like, let me unload all the things that are bothering me, and you totally understand this. But then go to my neighbor, it's like, they don't know. It's like, it's like, what have you worked on? It's like, do you play games? Like, no. It's like, you're not going to know.
Don't ask. Yeah.
You're not going to know what I'm working on.
Right.
So,
or how important it is. That's the thing too. It's not even just, you can't really get across in an adequate amount of time, like, your value to the industry.
Yeah. It's a weird thing. And it's probably like an entertainment thing, because it's almost like it's not like I go to my dentist and like, well, who are the last 3 people you worked on? whose fillings did you do this morning? Do I know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's such a weird thing. Like,
it is very weird.
I gotta give you my resume before you'll show me that I am worthy of the title I just told you. But this was a pleasure being able to talk to you, knowing that you're a gamer as well as a musician and a fan. So, thank you for having me.